face. When you hit the clapper, you're on the air.
Yes, thanks. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being produced here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future. Also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And thanks, too, to our friends at WBNY, Buff State. That's Buffalo's original alternative radio station at 91.3 FM. We are grateful to our friends at Buff State. And when I think about gratitude, I think about our indigenous friends and how, in spite of all the attempted genocide, violence, and trickery of all kinds that has shoved them onto smaller and smaller pieces of land and suffering so much, that they are still full of gratitude, and that they start every day and every event by being grateful for the persons who've come together, who've made it possible, for Mother Earth, for the living waters, for the plants of all kinds, the medicinals and nutritional plants, for the trees and the air and beauty they give us, for all the different creatures, and for all the different elements, including in the skies, the sky world, and of course, above all, the love and the creator and the original instructions that we have been given so that life can continue in this creation. And so after that, then they always say Nyahweh, and then the people say Nyo. So Nyahweh.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have a very special show today, another special show because we have a special camp that's coming up. So, and special guest, no, I can't say that. I have to say wonderful friend of the show, or even, I would even say leader of the show, really. So, going counterclockwise, there's Vivian Waltz, who is the director at the SSJ, Sister Karen Klimczak Center for Nonviolence. Welcome, Vivian.
Thank you. Always good to be with you on Talking Peace.
Oh, well, it's always great to have you. And, of course, our fearless leader, Deidra EmEl, who is executive director at the Western New York Peace Center, and the both of you being co-directors of Camp Peaceprints. So thanks, Deidra, for finding time to come on.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Amen. Amen. And so I'm Vicki Ross, or Victory Ross. That's what I'm going. I'm shortening up my super name to Victory Ross. So I'm going to say I might be one of your best advertisements for camp, because I love it so much that I keep coming. So, and a lot of kids do, until they age out, and even then they still keep coming if they can. So I just want to say, it's our 15th year. Oh, but before we go into Camp Peaceprints, why don't we do what we usually do, which is to talk about what are the values that we want to uphold in this topic. So it's really, what are the values that you think of when you think of Camp Peaceprints? And so we can go counterclockwise. So Vivian, what do you think of?
Well, when we do the peace agreement at Camp Peaceprints, which is one of the first things we do, we talk about the values that we want to hold with each other throughout camp. And I would say the most common number one thing that comes up is respect.
Mm-hmm.
Respect for each other, respect for the diversities and the differences in amongst us, respect for... I got my dog here. She's giving me trouble.
Oh.
Respect for the space where we are. Respect for our presenters and what we're going to be learning together. So that's number one. And I'll pass to Deidra and try to calm my puppy here.
Sure.
I think about community, like Vicki said before, that so many campers from before come back and they age out and they keep coming back as youth assistants and so on. And I think of community. I think of training in leadership, and just to be peace leaders and peacemakers, and and just connection. I think we feel a lot with Camp Peaceprints.
Well, those are wonderful values, and on both sides, each of your values that you offered are so integral to camp, really integral. And I think of when you said community, and really a beloved community. So it's one of the things about camp when we have, I would say almost every age group, and sometimes we do have every age group when moms who are helping with driving bring their babies, or, we end up with quite the composite group, age-wise, and then just every which way. So in terms of diversity, in terms of even, so racially, ethnically, faith tradition, or certainly in terms of LGBTQ, or different approaches that people have to really almost any aspect of their life. And it's one of the things that beloved community that it honors diversity and yet comes in together in unity. So, and I still can't, I think of truth and love. So I think of Dr. King a lot. But so one of the things that I thought of with camp is when this happened in camp, when we decided, it was during one of the peace agreements. Oh, two things I'll mention. One was that we need a balance between truth and kindness. Right? Mm-hmm. Which is sort of a balance of truth and love, So we need to tell people, but we need to tell them in a way that is kind, that they can hear. And the other thing also came from a camper, and they said, ask questions, question everything, And they said, why? Well, now I'm getting off the topic. Never mind. It's been, I don't know. It's been a long day. So keeping it moving.
Asking questions is making me think that one of our main values is communication.
Yes.
Learning. How to express ourselves, learning how to identify and express feelings, listening. We always have listening on our peace agreement. And
listening is big. And don't worry about your dog, because we can barely hear him.
Okay.
There's just a little squeaky sound in the back.
Okay.
That's not like my dog, which you could really hear her if she was going. So anyway, so that's great. Yes, thank you for bailing me out there. And also learning. I'm so glad you brought up about learning too, because it's learning to communicate and just plain learning, and having that learning attitude, is so important. And that learning, that balance actually between learning and advancing. Right? So we want to learn, question, and take our time, but we also want to move ahead, right? And so that people can feel some confidence and boldness, back to what you were saying about leadership. So all of those things, they're so great for the kids. So I'm going to invite you, each of you, to sort of share different parts about the camp. Like, Vivian, if you want to start with just, what the where, when, who.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Camp Peaceprints is a day camp, and it's for 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, from July 18th to July 29th. So it's the 18th through the 22nd, and then the 25th through the 29th. And it is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. most days, although on our field trip days, we're going to have longer days. And camp this year, for the first time, is located at St. Columba-Brigid Church, which is at 75 Hickory Street, and it's across from the JFK Center, if you know where that is. So that's where we're going to be this year.
Right. And Deidra?
Yeah, so the space is pretty cool. We're across from a playground, and we hope that the pool will be open at JFK, but it won't be open this year. However, we are making other arrangements for swimming, and the splash pad at MLK, Martin Luther King Park, and the beach, which we did last year, which was a lot of fun. The day before our last day, we have a beach day. So this year we'll have art at the beach, and also on Tuesdays and Thursdays each week we have art with Jan. That's been like with us since the beginning for the last 15 years.
I think she missed the first year, so this would be her 15th year. Is that right? Her 14th year.
14th.
And our 15th. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a kind spirit, and just a beautiful spirit. And so she'll be doing art with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we also have field trips. So Vivian mentioned our field trips. We have longer days. Did you want to talk about the first one, Vivian, with the Underground Railroad?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to jump in when you were talking about art and say that is an important part of communication, our learning communication. Jan is so good at tying together the art with our theme, and learning to express ourselves, through art is really huge and a great learning experience for all of us.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was going to say
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Vivian.
I was going to turn over the field trip to you because you did the first week. I did the second week field trip.
Okay, sure. Our theme is Justice for All. And, of course, with everything that has been happening in the last few years, and the different things, recent, the past 6 months, and dealing with legislation and citizenship, and how to make your voice be heard, and all these different kinds of things.
Right.
We wanted to cover Justice for All. So we'll be, covering a little bit of everything as much as we can, and bringing people in from the community to discuss those different parts of, what that means to us in America. So our first field trip will be Ganondagan, which is in Victor, New York. And basically it's a Haudenosaunee or a Seneca Nation focus on the past life in the village, as far as history, of their traditional village. The children will get to see an actual longhouse and go inside and experience and talk about the experience of earlier indigenous people. And they'll also look at how learn about different games, Haudenosaunee games that they able to play, and just learn how the connection between nature and their community work hand in hand. So it's a full day. I think we're going out about an hour and a half away. Right. Round trip so it'll be about 4 hours just travel. But I think it's well worth it. I think we, in connecting with our Justice for All, understanding how what is it called, Vicki? Is it the Peace Circle or the Great Law
Talking Circle? Well, they do have a talking circle. Sometimes they call it that, which is definitely
the Great Law of Peace. But
the Great Law of Peace, sure.
Yeah, understanding how that's connected to the inspiration for the Constitution and the laws and so on that United States, is built on. So they got a lot of inspiration from the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. So that's our connection this year with that.
I want to say I am so excited about going to Ganondagan. And it just is it's going to be such a thrill because it is such a key place for the Haudenosaunee. And I think they had some significant treaties signed there, but they have a regular ceremony there that is in remembrance. And and I think about, some of the things that we've learned over the years, about the Haudenosaunee. And so one is that, yes, they gave a lot of the main ideas for the Constitution. And if only our founding, yes, they were the fathers or the founding persons, had taken more of them, then we would be still better off. Because, like, the women's suffrage that really came from the Haudenosaunee women, right? Because the Haudenosaunee women, it's a matriarchal society. And so women's rights were right in there. In a way that we didn't have them until we finally had them, and now we still don't have them. So it's just, anyway. So it's just going to be a very wonderful experience at Ganondagan. And so what about the next field trip, Viv? If you want to talk about that one?
Sure. The following Wednesday, our field trip day is Wednesday, we are heading off to Niagara Falls. And we're going to start at the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center. And this is just a wonderful place that what they do is they tell real life stories of people who were escaping slavery and into freedom into Canada through the Underground Railroad right in Niagara Falls. So, right where the site is, you can see Canada from there. And I just have their mission here to reveal authentic stories of Underground Railroad freedom seekers and abolitionists in Niagara Falls that inspire visitors to recognize modern injustices. So this is where our Justice for All piece is, that stem from slavery and take action toward an equitable society. So they have examples of freedom seekers throughout time. At the end, they have a room at the end where it's just a whole mosaic of pictures of freedom seekers from the time of this country till the present day. So that is, as our justice focus will be there for how oppressed people work to seek their own freedom, and how advocates work for them and with them to work for freedom and justice. So that is our first piece of that day. And then the second piece is just for fun. We are going to take a ride on Maid of the Mist. So we have the Glenn family who own Maid of the Mist, have been longtime supporters of the Sister Karen Center, and are providing us with complimentary tickets for all our campers to go on Maid of the Mist. So we're very excited about that.
Yes,
The falls up close.
This will be my first time on Maid of the Mist, so I'm really excited about that.
Well, me too, and it's my second time because the last time I went was also with Camp Peaceprints. So, and going to Ganondagan, this will be my first time to Ganondagan. So, all I can say is that reminds me to tell people that we will be looking for some adult volunteers, for parents. If you're bringing your children, we might have a place for you to help us out with some of the field trips, especially, those two field trips. And then, of course, there's the beach trip, if you want to talk about the beach trip a little bit.
Well, we go to Woodlawn Beach, which is in Lackawanna. It's a state park. So we just basically go over the Skyway and straight down Route 5 to Woodlawn. And it's a fun place. There's this really cool kind of boardwalk that goes, from the parking lot and the concessions to the beach. It goes through the trees. Just really kind of a nice little walk to get to the beach, and then it opens wide out into the beach, and it's pretty cool. We find a lot of our campers haven't been to the beach as close as we are to the lake. So that's a great experience. And we play in the sand and we play in the sun and we go in the water, and we can see the city of Buffalo, kind of right around the bend from the beach. So that's kind of cool to get that perspective for the kids to see the city kind of from afar.
It's a pretty clean
great day.
Too. Yeah, it's pretty clean, and just a lot of space so that you can kind of have your own group and and hang out and do your own thing. So I really enjoyed it last year. So we said, why don't we keep it in there?
Right.
So be better than any pool indoors, just being able to hang out and be in nature and connect. And that's my word for tonight, I guess. Connect.
Right. Oh, so much about connecting. And you're only reminding me of some of the work that we're doing for some of the healing experiences in the for people in Buffalo. Reminds me that we were just in a meeting where we had this serendipity of some things going on. So I was just at, most of a meeting tonight about an event that's taking place or will have taken place on Friday, the 8th, that is called Blue Mindfulness and body, mind, and spirit kind of thing. And it is about, swimming and how healing, what a healing and transformative experience it could be. And so I'm going to say, even though I was not one of the speakers, I did break in to just tell two things. One, that my sister, as a paraplegic and technically quadriplegic, swam, and she could swim up to a half a mile with her arms alone. That is part of how my parents, how our parents got her to be the strong, independent person that she was all her life, in spite of being in a wheelchair all her life. And I also brought up about Camp Peaceprints and how we found that once we brought the kids swimming, we had to keep doing it because it was just so transformative. It was just so community building, connecting, helpful, about facing fears or, learning and trusting and, having fun and just the cool and the healing thing of water, and being in the water. Besides the increased safety of actually learning to swim. Because that was also brought up in this group that I was just talking about. And that, by the way, for people who might know about it, it's going to be on, it's going to be at City Honors on that, July 8th, Friday, July 8th. And I think it starts, do you remember when it starts? 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock, something like that. So it will have just passed for some other people. But just to say, that's one of the reasons people have seen that swimming, is a very great experiential teacher, and healing moment for people as they swim and pursue their swimming.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we see a big difference, with the campers from the first day of swimming till we swim 4 times on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Mm-hmm. So from the first to the 4th time, we see a big difference in terms of how relaxed they are and confident, and trusting, like you say. Right.
It's wonderful. And then actually, as far as some of the Justice for All, if you'd like to talk a little bit about some of the workshops that we either definitely might be having, or whatever combination of those.
Sure. Well, we have our programming with our stations and presenters are on Mondays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. Again, Wednesdays are field trip, and then Tuesday, Thursday is art and swimming. So on Monday and Friday is when we kind of have our programming. So we have themes for each of those days. The first Monday, the theme is citizenship. And the first Friday, the theme is the law. The second Monday, the theme is the justice system or injustice system, as it were.
Right.
And then the last day is just what, how do we make change where we see the injustices in the world. So that's kind of our general overlay. The first, let's see, Deidra and I can kind of share this. The first Monday under citizenship, we're having some presenters from Vive Shelter, which is a residential program for refugees coming. So we're excited about that. And then the other presenter on that Monday is a woman from the League of Women Voters. And she's going to be helping the kids basically identify, where they think the problems are in our community and, who are the elected officials or the representatives that they might write letters to or contact to work on those issues. So,
awesome.
And then the Friday is the law. Go ahead, Deidra.
USCIS. You have to help me with the acronym. That'll be coming on Monday as well. USCIS.
Yeah, that was immigration. They're not coming. Yeah. We kind of decided that government employees don't have time for Camp Peaceprints. So yeah, I wasn't even able to get anyone on the phone there. So
we have some other community oriented people talking about voting and things like that. That's what we're also thinking of for that Monday, right?
Mm-hmm. For citizenship.
Right.
So
right.
So that Friday we have Curio Horn coming out. And council member David Rivera's office will also be coming out to speak with the youth, basically on how to, how laws are created, how policies are created, and how they can be changed, and how they have to listen to the people or should listen to the community, to the people, and let their voices be heard. So I'm excited about that.
I would be excited about that also.
Yeah.
Enough said. That's all I'm going to say on that topic right at the moment.
Yeah. We also have two people from the Buffalo chapter of the National Lawyer Guild coming out, and they're going to do a session on Know Your Rights.
Can I ask which two people? Do you know the name?
Yes. I don't. The one that I was in touch with was Drew, but I don't know if he's coming or not.
Drew Fryer Fairtig?
I'm sorry?
Is it Drew Fryer Fairtig?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, very well. It probably is. That's what I think. But we'll see. Mm-hmm. Okay. And
so they had, I had told them a couple of years ago, we had someone talk about your rights with any kind of encounter with the police.
Right.
So they know that that's something that we would like to have covered, and hopefully they will do that because that's certainly important.
I'm quite sure that if it's the person I think it is, that I was just suggesting, Drew Fryer Fairtig, he definitely will. It would be a very clear, and strong presentation. I'm very excited to hear him on that topic. And
very good.
So the following week, we open up Monday with Karima Amin, a wonderful storyteller and activist. She's also one of the co-directors of Prisoners Are People Too. And so, hopefully she'll share a bit of her story and tell some stories about how we can change the justice system and make our communities better. We are still, working out some details with more presenters, but we're really excited.
Yes,
and we're trying to close the deal within the next week or so.
Right.
With some of our other presenters.
We on that Monday for the justice system or the injustice system, we will have at least one formerly incarcerated individual to talk to the campers. So they always just have really compelling stories to tell about the changes that they went through, while they were in the, incarcerated in our injustice system, and in what ways it ended up being a time of growth for them. So it's not all negative. So they're willing to share at that kind of personal level is, I think, will really speak to the campers and move them.
Well, so many of our community leaders, and especially community activists, are formerly incarcerated people. I would just say because formerly incarcerated people know just how deep the problems go. And sometimes that, maybe it's a combination of, as Kafka, I think it was Kafka said, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And also that righteous indignation about the injustices that results in people, and that combination of having the, doing their own work as well as, whatever supports they've found spiritually to help them through, that make these some of our strongest peace activists and, justice activists in the community.
And the Sister Karen Center has a program of the Alternatives to Violence Project in Wendy Correctional Facility. So that's unfortunately, volunteers are still not back in the facility after the pandemic.
Really?
They are in other prisons in New York State. So Wendy's just a little slower there, but we're we have that program going strong, or we did before it was suspended.
Well, it's a great program. So important.
And Vicki, aren't you doing I think you're doing a piece on one of the Fridays as well with Buddy?
Yes, I am, with Buddy Bell. So Buddy Bell and I are going to help facilitate, although it won't be limited to us. I mean, it's always a shared learning experience, but we're going to be talking about activism and making real change, which will include civil disobedience and civil resistance, which, of course, are two different things. Civil disobedience being breaking an unjust law to show the injustice of that law. And civil resistance is when you might break a law in the effort to get our government to observe the law and to follow their own laws or the laws that they have committed themselves to through our treaties or international agreements, which of course we do very poorly. I mean, we don't do. When we think about the war crimes and military adventurism that has happened in this country, or even domestically, the things that supposedly are laws, but then they don't get affected. And for example, when we talk about Carriel's Law, Carriel Horn, pushed that. And with the help of the community, it was enacted locally, Carriel's Law, which says that it is a police officer's responsibility to correct or stop or report illegal acts or unjust acts, abusive behaviors on the part of other police officers. So that is what she did, which was what resulted in her eventually getting fired for that and then fighting for 19 years. Well, no, wait. She worked for the police 19 years. But anyway,
2006 is when she was fired.
2006, right.
And then the law passed in 2020, and her conviction got overturned just last year.
Right. But one of the things I wanted to say is, well, they said right along, well, that's already in our protocols, that's already in what we're, supposed to be doing. Well, and so that's the difference. So it may be in there as a protocol, but if it's not getting done, or if, then, because the government does not always follow its own laws. right? So that is another thing. So civil resistance is the effort to get the government to follow the law. Whatever efforts you take to do that. And so we can talk about those things as well as about other kinds of change making, organizing of people. That's another thing. And so I'm going to say Buddy Bell is a former employee of Voices for Creative Nonviolence, which was Kathy Kelly's group that worked on all those kinds of issues, and particularly about injustices to people in other countries more than anything, as well as sometimes to what goes on in this country as well. But especially our part in those injustices where it comes from the military and military adventurism, drone warfare, and all of that. So I'm excited about presenting that and sort of, having it as an incubator there for these young activists, to think about what kinds of roles, what issues really matter to them, and then what kinds of things they can even do even now. So not that we're necessarily talking about civil disobedience or civil resistance in that, but back to the first question in their very first session. So it'll be a way of sort of bringing it all together. So I'm excited about that, and certainly he's got the experience. He's done a lot of different kinds of creative activism that will help us to get inspired on that topic. So that'll be fun and rewarding.
And then the afternoon on the last day, we were just looking at a couple of ways to just blow out and have fun. So, probably dancing, drumming.
Sure.
There's a couple different groups that we're communicating with, but that's just all going to be about fun. And we always have ice cream on the last day of camp, so
right.
We will do that.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, that's exciting too. And it's just, I think the last day really helps, again, with my word for the evening, with community and connectivity.
Yes.
And just knowing that there's another side, of the world and of our vision. There's still goodness in the world, and we feel that togetherness. We feel stronger, as well, to that we can make change, and within and without. So
Absolutely.
it's just excited about that, and hopefully we can get some dancing and drumming going on.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Now, are you kidding with you there? We will definitely have dancing and drumming going on, for sure. One way or another, we will have it, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also, we have our mindfulness moments. We have a little bit of yoga, a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of maybe even a little bit of meditation or guided imagery, things like that. I'm just remembering do you have a copy of those yoga flashcards or no? Or do I have both of them?
I have no idea.
Yeah, so that's something for us to talk about. So that we could do
Maybe
different.
What? I was just going to, maybe if we have the little time left here, just talk about the word Peaceprints and Sister Karen Klimczak.
Sure.
Yes. The Sister Karen was a sister of St. Joseph who worked with men coming out of prison. A lot of people know her story.
Right.
Very tragically, she was killed by one of them. This was back in 2006. And so her congregation, the Sisters of St. Joseph, wanted to open a center for nonviolence just to continue her legacy of peace and nonviolence. And so that's Sister Karen Center. She, before her death, was having breakfast with her Sister Jean Klimczak, and she said to her, I keep getting this phrase in my mind, I leave Peaceprints, I leave Peaceprints. And so she had the doves made that say, I leave Peaceprints. Everybody's seen those around our city. So that became kind of her phrase. And so that's where the name Peaceprints comes from, Camp Peaceprints. And about a year after she died, David Granville, who is a musician and composer, works for the city of Buffalo, wrote a song Peaceprints, and it's kind of our theme song at camp. And we've had a recording in the past that's not really very kid friendly. So this year we have the composer himself, David Granville's going to come and sing the Peaceprint song with the kids, and hopefully, make it rock out a little more and a little more.
At the end, is it going to be in the beginning or the end, or do you know?
It's the first Friday.
The first Friday. Good.
Morning.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that makes sense. Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I still like the song that we made up last year too.
I really don't remember that
I
one.
don't remember it either. That's the tragic part of it. I don't remember it either. Yeah. But anyway, it wouldn't be the same. It would be making up a new song, which we still might do. We could still do. But
I'm sure he'll do something creative with his song.
I'm sure. I'm not trying to bump into when they're doing that. No. That'll be great to have that. Yeah. It's just, we always end up with more, there's so much that we could do. But one thing I want to go to is when you said about leaving Peaceprints, which, of course, we've all heard that and think about that and try to do that. It makes me think about, as we build this beloved community for camp and, in some of the other programs as well, but that in youth programming, this is really where, it's back to, what both of us or all of us have used this phrase that Gandhi said, if we want to have a lasting peace, we must start with the children. And, and we've seen that when I see some of our wonderful, former campers or former peace jammers that are doing so many wonderful things, or a lot of times it's both. A lot of times if they've done one, then they might do the other or vice versa. But that these are a lot of the young activists who 15 years ago or 12 years ago or whatever it might have been have been in some of these programs, and now these are the young people who are, with the Buffalo Urban League or, working in different areas because they're inspired, or they go on as doctors or lawyers or, or peace activists, water activists. I mean, they got they got so much of social justice and activism out of camp.
Right.
That's
And they become
just young. And also, interpersonal skills, like, talking about communication and conflict resolution.
Yeah, sure.
I was talking about the Alternatives to Violence Project, our program at Wendy Correctional Facility. It's all about peaceful conflict resolution. And we teach that. We do those kind of exercises as well.
Now, what we sorry.
Well, that just, does well for in any field that they go into.
Absolutely. Those are critical skills that really need to be, addressed in any education. And, of course, they're not generally. But what were you going to say, Deidra, before? Do you remember?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, just that, it's just a lot. Children have a lot of fun. We have long-lasting relationships, even after camp. And, registration is still open.
Right.
We want your child, ages 8 to 13. You can still register even up until the Friday before, till that time. And you can also register for 1 week at a time. You don't have to dedicate, for both weeks, but at least to one full week. And so we're pretty flexible. We do have a fee, but it is by, we do have scholarships available. So don't worry about monies, what have you. Just, let your child have this, great experience and, long-lasting friendships and connections, to their community. I think it's well worth it.
I love your bringing that out because I know I've seen that time and time again. The friendships that kids develop at camp, that continue on, and including with some of your all's children.
Yes, they have grown up in camp. Like my son started with camp in, I want to say 2014. Something like 2015, something like that.
I just came across that the other day, and I should have kept it. That I think it could have been 13, or it could have been 14.
Yeah, so it was so long ago, and I started off as a parent volunteer, and I was a homeschooler, at that time. Well, still a homeschooler, but now he's a youth assistant. He's going to be a youth assistant this year. He's 16, and so it's a whole nother set of responsibilities, and hopefully he'll be a great example of what camp can do.
He will, and it just reminds me of how we started when we started camp. Your children were all camp age, Vivian. That's how we decided what age we were going to work with, and now this is our 15th year.
I just. I hadn't worked full time since I was at home with them. And so I thought, what am I going to do with them this summer? So that was kind of a big motivation for Camp Peaceprints to have my kids there.
Oh, and it was,
they went through, all the years of camp when they were of camper age, and they were youth assistant, and my son Jonah's going to be an adult helper this year. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
and they do have relationships with campers that they met.
I know they do. That's why
back.
I said that. I know they do. And it's so much fun to think about the ways that and the times, when they were kids. I also can't help mentioning, Deidra, of course, that I remember when you were a parent volunteer that Vivian and I wanted to hire you the next year. That's what we thought of doing. But then you didn't come back to camp because he had a different camp that he wanted to go to that year.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, we won out in the end. For quite a while. So it's been quite a while because you started with us in 2018 at the very latest. Right, at the Peak Center. Early, it was February or March of 2018.
Yeah.
My favorite, Deidra, was when we had Camp by Zoom in 2020 and you did the dancing.
I don't even remember.
Up and moving. That was fabulous.
Well,
really?
She'll be getting us up and moving anyway.
Oh, yeah, on Zoom. Oh, that was hilarious.
That's why it was so funny. You would play your music. We made the kids get up. We're like, come on, get out of your chair.
Right.
My son loved that, quote unquote.
It was an interesting camp. I mean, we didn't know if we could have it or not. And,
it was.
We always have the.
I want to take
grant from the Reefer Fund. We have a grant from the Network of Religious Communities every year from the Reefer Fund, and that year we thought, we can't cancel camp, and we did it by Zoom, and it was really fun.
We sure did.
I want to take credit for one thing, which was when I said, well, our field trips have to be out of this world, or not out literally, of course, but. Out of this country, why not? We could have been on, Mount Rainier or something. I wouldn't have minded that either. I think we should have gone to Denali, but anyway. But we went to Afghanistan, India, Nepal, Kenya, and I don't know where else. Machu Picchu, of course. Machu Picchu, of course. The only time I got to go to Machu Picchu because you brought us there. So, so we have fun. I want to just say, so people should go to either sisterkarencenter.org or WNYPC.org. Both websites have camp registration right there, online registration. You can register right there and then. And I can tell you that as far as the pricing, it says, this is what we, use. And then, if you can't pay that, would you like to pay, which really effectively makes it sliding scale. So people should not worry. So we just try to make things come out even. Is really basically that. And
absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to mention as well as the Reefer Fund from the Network of Religious Communities. We have a grant this year from the Children's Foundation of Erie County.
Right.
So I want to recognize them.
Absolutely, yes.
This is the second year that they will be supporting us.
That's very kind of them. And like you said, the Reefer, the Network of Religious Communities, has always been a very big supporter of camp. And we've addressed, actually, one of the things that we've done as much as anything is interfaith, interfaith questions or exploration. And really, it's about the different cultures and ways and, just getting kids to think about and learn about, because we do, partly by having this diverse group that comes, they're learning through each other. So we're all learning. It's shared learning all the time.
Absolutely.
And a really, really a pleasure. So it's fun. It's inspiring. Yeah, it'll be great, and I'll bet you this will be our best camp yet.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're in a new space, and so we're going to see how it works out. What's so nice about the space is the Sister Karen garden that's dedicated to her and to her her mission. So I think it's just it's a very special space to what we do.
Sure.
And I hope that it, works out really well for us this year and, and give us another perspective,
right?
On things. So it's a beautiful space, nice green space,
right,
next to a beautiful park,
air conditioned.
And air conditioning.
Oh, good. And yes. Oh, that is very
true.
wonderful too. Yes. We're so happy about that. So if you want to send your kid into some air conditioning where they get inspired to social justice and art and all good things, then that'll be an option. That'll be, then we hope we see them at camp, So, and,
we'll
certainly.
get plenty of fresh air too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good mix.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say we're if you have some maybe final words accompanied with a memory of camp. If so most people at the end of the show, we've told people how they can get more involved. Oh, one thing I forgot to say is you can get more involved by having your child come to camp, and you can register online as we talked about. You can also offer to help with transportation needs at camp. So that means you could be driving your children or drive your children with some other neighborhood children. And if you are driving for camp, that we do reimburse people for gas. If you're driving, other people's children as well as your own children. So that's another thing.
And lunch is provided. Lunch and snacks are provided.
Right.
At camp every day.
So if you each want to have some final words on the topic. So Viv will go around this counterclockwise.
Final words. Well, I'm at that point in Camp Peaceprints planning where I'm feeling a little stressed like I do every year. But, once I get there on the first day and start meeting the kids and we start hearing from the presenters and we realize that what we've planned in our mind is really coming together, for a wonderful message and a time of learning. I'm right there with the kids learning right beside them. So like you say, it's a shared learning and it's all about community and it's all about connection and it's a great camp. So in terms of a memory, I'm thinking of at least 2 times, and it may be more, that we were in Niagara Square doing a demonstration. The first one I'm thinking was quite a few years ago, where Jan from the Prevention Council of Erie County, who does our artwork, had us make paper mache bones.
Right.
It was really, really interesting. Whatever different bones in our body, like she had pictures of actual bones, and the kids wrote a song about bones.
Yes, we
and
did.
just about
Right.
the death in the world, and how we need to work against it and come together, to give life to each other. So we sang that song, and we brought those paper mache bones into Niagara Square, and that was very cool. And then the other one I'm thinking was just a few years ago, when former President Trump had the cages at the border, and so it was a rally and a protest against that policy.
Yep. Very memorable. And Deidra, final words.
So final words. Bring your child to camp.
Yeah.
Sign up today.
Right.
I think that, like I said, I think it's a wonderful experience. The children want to come every year. They ask me about it. And they remind their parents about, hey, isn't it camp? My son keeps reminding me, like, hey, aren't we having camp this year? So it makes a lasting impression. And a memory, I have a few. One memory is, I remember when I believe the children drew pictures for some of the prisoners to encourage them one year. I can't remember what the topic, what have you on, but again, it was one of Jan's mastermind art projects. And so, we all, I think it was about themselves. I think it was something about, finding who they are and what they represent, and sharing this with a person that was in prison, what have you, and encouraging them as well to be, who they can be, be all they can be, and who they were. So just finding that connection with the community at large, right. Not just, within a box or within four walls, but always making, a connection to what you're doing inside is affecting without, is affecting society. So that was one. And another one, I think, is the field trips. So, they are, we have a great time. Come on down. Thanks.
Amen to all of that. So, I just can't thank you both for all the work. I can't thank you enough for all the wonderful work you've done to make this camp. It's going to be our best one yet. This is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love.